Joining me now, Geraldo Rivera, the veteran award-winning journalist who's covered crime and high-profile cases for decades. News Nation's now newest correspondent at large. Misty Marris, trial attorney and legal analyst who's been following all of the cases we'll be covering today closely. And Jesse Weber, attorney and anchor for the Law and Crime Network, where he has been, of course, following these cases. He's also a News Nation legal contributor. All right, so Geraldo, the argument is there was this warning out there. You, Carnival Cruises, hadn't told us about it. You didn't warn us about it. And the lawyer now focusing the target at Carnival Cruises. What do you make of it?
Well, I think it's unfortunate that they're not all on the same page. First of all, that's about the civil liability that goes down the line, but the word should get out. And Carnival Cruise Line should let all of their passengers on all of their excursions tell the passengers what parents tell their daughters, what I, as the father of 3 daughters, have told them all. Don't take a drink from anybody other than the bartender. You take a drink from any suave cavalier, here, honey, how about one of these? You are in danger of being roofied. That's what happened to these women. They were roofied. Rufinol, the benzodiazepam, the common date rape drug. This story, this sad story, this melancholy, outrageous story, that's the real headline. Now, as to whether or not the ladies strayed beyond the parameters of what was authorized by the cruise ship and all the rest of that, that will be for the civil litigation. But the headline should be, don't accept a drink from anybody, not a bartender.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Misty, these are people who worked at the hotel, right, or worked at this resort. I would think that these women can say, you know, hey, we went to this well-known resort, right, and some people who worked there gave us drinks. You know, it seems to me that's not necessarily such an issue for them. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right, Dan. And Geraldo makes a great point about awareness. Oh, no problem. Geraldo, you made an amazing point about raising awareness and ensuring to do everything in your power to be safe when you're on a vacation like this and realize that there are risks. To your point, Dan, I think this is going to be a central aspect of what Carnival Cruise will raise in their defense. So according to the women who went through this tragic experience, the people that approached them were dressed in uniforms. They appeared to work at the resort. Ultimately, it was determined that they did work at the resort. And so they were under the perception that these individuals were people that could be trusted. Now, Carnival Cruise is going to use that to say this was an intervening cause and that you had 2 people who were sitting there waiting for tourists to take advantage of, and that would cut off any liability to Carnival. Yeah. It's going to be a very fact-sensitive case because, of course, the question is, did Carnival know there was a risk of this type of violence
doesn't that change it for you?
Location?
I mean, you know, look, you see people at these resorts all the time, right? Walking around the beach, who work at the hotel, offering drinks, etc. I mean, right?
I'd want to know how far away was the bar? Were they clearly bartender or just the guy that picks up the stray chairs that are floating in the surf? It is, in that sense, fact-centric. However, that doesn't change my headline at all. This is a common practice. This is an extreme case. These women have been raped by people who have given them drugs. I want to know, are the 2 guys who were participating in this rape, have they been arrested yet? What has the Bahamas, what has the crew, if they're in custody, then let's take it from there.
Yeah, let me play a piece of sound. This is from the women's attorney talking about what their basic argument is. Number 3, let's listen.
Passengers rely on the cruise lines to investigate and to ensure that the places they visit and the ports of call are safe. And by promoting and endorsing excursions like Pirate Cove, they're essentially warranting the safety for their passengers. And if there was a specific warning by the United States Embassy or the State Department that there was a specific risk of harm, rape, sexual assault, murders, the law requires Carnival to follow those warnings.
Look, Jesse, I think they're going to end up settling, is my guess. But it's not that easy an argument.
You may be surprised. If I can talk about the law a little bit here, okay? So generally speaking, a cruise line has a legal duty to warn of dangers about excursions where you would reasonably expect to visit. Now, why do I say that? As you just heard from the attorney, Carnival allegedly promoted Pirates Cove. There's an allegation they took it off their website. Now, they arranged the shuttle to take them to Pirates Cove. Now, what could be a defense for Carnival? They said, listen, we could have warned about the dangers of crime. We could have warned about shoplifting. We could have warned about pickpockets, murder. Is it reasonably to be expected that they would have been roofied and sexually assaulted at a resort? That might be where they say they can escape that liability. But at the end of the day, the law supports these women and not so much Carnival Cruise Line.
Misty, you agree with that?
So Jesse is 100% right that the causation factor is going to be Carnival's best argument. There is some case law out there that extends the duty of the cruise line to areas that are port of call. And Jesse made a great point. Was this a sanctioned excursion by Carnival, or did these two individuals go off on their own? So I think that there's a solid case, but it's still a big hurdle, Dan, because that causation element, when you're talking about an intentional act, an intentional crime, that's where it gets to be problematic from the plaintiff's perspective.
The warning was that 18 murders have occurred in Nassau since the beginning of 2024. Murders have occurred at all hours, including in broad daylight. And it said the embassy recommends extreme caution in the eastern part of New Providence Island, Nassau. Use caution when walking or driving at night. Keep a low profile. Do not physically resist any robbery attempts. Review your personal security plans. That was the embassy warning that apparently they're saying should have been emphasized by Carnival before allowing people to go out. Geraldo, final thought?
Just to elicit or to list all of the possible horrible things that could happen to you is really impossible. It's encyclopedic, all the different things.
Yeah.
And the Bahamas, I mean, in Mexico last week in Cancun, there were 5 people found, dead dismembered in a vehicle. There's always danger involved. People should be aware of their surroundings. But I just want, if there's one headline here, they'll figure out who's liable for what. And I agree that they will settle. But the headline is, ladies, don't take a drink if it's not a bartender. And you're not at a bar.
I just want to be careful in sounding like we're blaming these women, because it doesn't sound to me like they did something so crazy by accepting drinks from people who worked at what is a sort of well-known resort.
I'm not blaming them. I'm just, the danger is for real. The danger is, remember Dog the Bounty Hunter getting the Max Factor heir who roofied some girls at a big party in Southern California? I mean, the environment there was as benign as you could possibly get, and yet they were roofied by a guy a billionaire. So
all right, everyone's going to stick around. Coming up, a Texas woman charged with